Ladies and gents from the nice folks at Synergy, they make preamps and preamp modules and power amps and things like that. It is the Soldano SLO II Synergy preamp module. So this is a new updated version of the SLO. There was a previous one out, and this is the kind of the Mark II version. So what's different on this one? Well, number one, you've got two channels, but you've got independent EQ on each channel. So you can set up a completely different EQ curve on channel 1 and channel 2, whatever you like. On each channel, you've got a crunch and overdrive switch. So like on an original SLO 100 amplifier, you had the clean or / clean crunch channel, channel 1, and then you had the overdrive channel, channel 2. If you want to, you could set this up like two overdrive channels, just with different gain settings. You know, like a high gain crunch and then a super high gain lead if you want to. Or you could have two crunch channels if you want, two of the lower gain channels, or one crunch and one overdrive, whatever you like. And last but not least, the last upgrade to the module that makes it kind of new and exciting, you've got a tight switch. So the SLO was never like the tightest amplifier. It had tons and tons of gain, and it was tight for the day for sure when it came out in the late 80s, and especially for as much gain as it had. But later on, players, you know, went to down-tuned guitars and 7-string guitars and more gain and all that kind of stuff. And as you pile on the gain, kind of the looser things can get. So they've decided to include this tight switch, and that's really nice. If you're using tons and tons of gain, turn that on, you'll be able to keep a nice tight articulate sound. Just adds a nice sort of variation on the original SLO sound. So if you want the original sound, just leave the tight switch in the down position. You want the new tight setting, turn it on per channel once again. So on that track at the beginning of the video, you heard me running the SLO II preamp module in this two-space chassis here, Syn 2 chassis, and I ran that into Synergy Power Amp, just mono one side, 50 watts, going into my old Marshall cabinet out in the other room. Now, one thing I want to show you is a comparison between the sound of this SLO II module and my actual Soldano SLO 100 amp that I have down there. So you can get an idea of just how close it is. It's very close, and it's just kind of two versions of the same sound, or, you know, two slightly different but equally good sounds, I would say. And I'm going to solo some of the parts from the song at the beginning of the video outside of the mix and play a little bit more so that you can get an idea of what this thing does. All right, let's get on with it. Some sound examples of the SLO II from Soldano and Synergy. So I just cut the first part in the track at the beginning of the video, and I wanted to show you the tone of the module compared to my SLO amplifier and show you what they sound like in comparison. It's basically two great sounds, I think. I've got them dialed in relatively close. I'm not going to go back and forth and, you know, try and match them exactly or anything, but I've got them in the ballpark of one another. Here is the module first. Now we're going to go to the amp. All right, so they're pretty darn close. I do have the tight switch on this tone on the module. Of course, the amp doesn't have a tight switch, so I'm going to turn that off, and that might bring them even closer together. Let's check it out. That's the amp. Here's the module. Now, you might hear the module as having just a little bit more gush in it in the bottom end, and I think that's why they put the tight switch in, because I find that the module has a little more gain than my actual SLO. So I've got the gain on about 11 o'clock on the module, and on the amp it's on about 1 o'clock. In order to kind of match the gain levels. I think they've just goosed the module a little bit to have a bit more gain, in my opinion. And then they've included the tight switch so that when you have that increased gain, you can then tighten it up a little bit and maybe, you know, just kind of not have as much collapse in the bottom end, because that's the only thing. Of course, with more gain, you get a little more of that squish. Right, you hear that. So then if I turn on the tight, and tight off. And it just, you know, has a little bit fatter single notes than when I play those, because I'm playing some pretty dissonant chords in this part, and that can make it kind of collapse a little bit. So whatever you like. I just liked the sound of the tight switch for the part. It kept things really tight. The two tones compare pretty well. Let's go back and forth one more time. I'll turn the tight back on, and I'll go back and forth between the amp. That's the module. If I had to describe any differences that I'm hearing right now, I think it's that, to me, the module sounds maybe a hair more Marshall-y, like in the sense that it's a finer grain distortion, and the amp does that characteristic SLO big grain distortion just a little bit more. But it's like they're definitely right there in the ballpark, and they're both great sounds, super similar. So to just fill out the sound underneath the solo part, the kind of the tag end of the tune, I just played a couple of big, long, you know, football chord kind of parts and hard panned them. For this, I'm using the crunch mode. I've got the gain quite low, so it's around like, you know, 10 o'clock or something like that. I've got the tight switch off in the fatter setting. All the EQs are around noon. The only thing that's boosted up a bit is the treble's boosted up a little bit. And that sounded like this. So that's a tone where, you know, I just did it, you roll down your volume and you clean up a little bit. I'm using the kind of split coil humbucker position on my guitar, and then I'm also using the middle single coil. If I hit the bridge pickup, you know, it's that kind of tone. Sounds great for that. So this is a great crunch rock and roll tone, you know. That sort of sound. It does that in space. It sounds really great. Thanks for watching my video on the Soldano and Synergy SLO II module. This would be a great addition to your module collection if you're in kind of the Synergy ecosystem. Now with independent EQ on each channel, plus that really nice tight switch and the ability to configure kind of the gain profile of each channel exactly as you like. What's not to like? The sky's the limit. You can check it out further, that link down there in the video description below. Click there, it'll take you to more info about the SLO II from Synergy and Soldano. Take care, you guys. Over and out.